Okay, everybody. So it's the 7th of January, 2022. Welcome back to A Tiny Revolution. This is Ian from Mindful Marketplace. And today's question is with respect to the publishing platform that we're building and what tools and tech we are using to actually build this whole thing on a bootstrap budget from scratch without, a large team or anything like that. Just a couple people creating lots of content and, creating something that I think is going to be pretty notable in 2022. So some folks in our private community asked me yesterday which themes or plugins we're using to actually facilitate or expedite this. And the truth is, we're not using WordPress, right? So I think people were a little bit surprised at that, considering I've done a lot of recordings on WordPress and our own, content and community on WordPress. But actually, we're using Ghost. And the reason is quite simple. One, I've been using Ghost for a long time, so I just don't publicize that much. But if you look at enlightenup.mindfulmarketplace.com, you can see our Ghost membership site. But Ghost has some features that I think make it ideal for building this sort of community in 2022. It's far superior than WordPress for most of the folks who are listening to this, even if you don't necessarily recognize that yet. So number one, Ghost has memberships enabled by default. It is literally a membership site in a box. I mean, you don't have to install any plugins. You don't have to buy anything else. There's nothing to configure. It literally is a membership site it's built with that in its bones. So what that means is you immediately can restrict content, you can have free content, you can have members-only content, and you can have paid members-only content right away, which is perfect for our use case. Number two, it's ideal for multi-author blogs, right? So if you want to build a directory or a marketplace or give lots of people access to the back end of your site without any plugins or any nonsense or any sort of tech savvy, Ghost does that really, really well out of the box. So I can, for an example, in our publishing platform, invite all of the authors that I want to help, that I want to not only help, but I want actually to help us by dint of them publishing their own content, their own books, all their stuff can be on our community without a lot of configuration. So I can send out an email inviting 100 mindfulness authors, let's say, to create a blog on our site and then to promote their own books or their own content or help them create their own products and all that sort of stuff, and then allow them to sell those products directly on our site, which is part of the model that we're using for all of this. So that number two makes it really, really easy out of the box. So memberships and multi-author functionality is key, right? It's huge for me. Number three, Ghost now allows anyone to upload videos, audios, to create NFT, cards to use. They have product cards now with ratings. So you can upload PDFs. So you can really use Ghost now as an alternative to something like Podia or Gumroad or any of those sorts of digital commerce software solutions, or LMS, like learning management solutions. So you could teach courses. All that stuff now can be done on on Ghost. And Ghost also allows you very quickly and easily to embed content in the posts themselves and to restrict that content, again, making it ideal for, having a little teaser text and then restricting content on a book, let's say, or in a conversation, or, anything that you want people to pay for or to give them swag, let's say, for joining on a certain membership level. And the last thing that Ghost does really, really well out of the box is it's a newsletter publishing platform as well. So you can literally publish all of your content, your courses, your all that stuff, and then set those posts to actually go out to your members, right? So you can actually, publish a new book, in our case, or a new course or a new post or a new product. And immediately on publishing that, all of the folks who are signed up to your site will get notified that there's new content to download or read or whatever it is that you want to say there. And you can, curate those lists according to your needs. So if you don't want that to go out to everybody, you only want some of your audience to get that, all that can be done as well. All of this is done really out of the box with Ghost. I mean, it's really it has always been a phenomenal piece of software, but in the latter part of 2021, now into early 2022, it's really a full publishing platform, a professional publishing platform, even for amateur authors or sort of newbie online entrepreneurs. So it really makes it ideal for this sort of site that I know many of you want to build, and of course for our stuff as well. The other thing that's really appealing, as I'm letting my dogs in, is Ghost also, one of the things that we're doing largely in 2022 is a lot of audio courses and private podcasting and that sort of stuff, where we're working with authors and our tiny tiny artists and authors and creators and makers to help them create tiny audio content, like short micro courses that are delivered via podcast apps, but are private. They're not public podcasts, for example. So Ghost, again, is really, really great at embedding that sort of content natively within the editor without having to mess around with, all these different WordPress style, page builders. I mean, it's just it's a distraction to use WordPress for those sorts of sites. So anyway, all of that said, Ghost is really an ideal way of building all this on a bootstrap budget that anyone who is listening to this right now can do without any question in any area of interest or experience or expertise you may have. The downside of using Ghost can be that Ghost Pro can be a little bit expensive to host your site on, but we have alternative recommendations there if you're interested in building this sort of publishing platform. If you look in your members area, I have 2 recommendations for Ghost hosting that are 50% less or more than you'd pay with Ghost Pro, and that's what we're doing. I just actually signed up for a new Ghost account today on, again, Saturday the 7th of January, and it's literally going to cost me a fraction of what I know other folks in the industry are paying, simply by dint of the fact that I've gone out and established relationships with people who do Ghost hosting in a very skillful way that are kind of flying under the radar a little bit. So if you need help with that, feel free to ask there as well. All right, more content to come today. Lots more to come in the next couple of weeks. This whole new platform is going to be live. I'm very excited about it in the next week. And we're going to be publishing tiny books and tiny courses and all sorts of tiny content that I really believe is going to help a lot of people, entertain a lot of people, and make a really big impact in the next few months. So one last thing, if you want to join our community before the 15th of January, I'm also doing I'm testing a beta sort of private podcasting service where I'm doing coaching and consulting for our members who have questions, but who really only want those questions to be for their ears only. So if you're part of our learning community, you can ask questions, and I will create a private podcast that will literally be delivered to your phone or your podcast catcher of choice, predicated on your specific questions and your specific challenges, your platform, your products, etc. You'll get that delivered right to your iTunes or your whatever the podcatcher of, whether you're using Apple or using Stitcher or using any of the various podcasting platforms. You can get that directly on your phone, or you'll have the audio file that you can just download like through a browser, or the more conventional or traditional way of accessing audio. But I'm doing this just as a test, and that is included with the all access pass that we're offering, which is ridiculously cheap relative to like what you'd pay for this sort of community elsewhere. But that's all going to change on the 15th of January. So if you're interested in joining us for this journey, I'd recommend doing that sooner rather than later. Okay, teach what you know, do what you love, wake up the world with your work. Thank you as always so much for listening. And if you have questions, I'm happy to help. Thanks.